One. Hello guys, today we are going to be watching or reacting to five horror stories. Now, there's 162 of these things, so yeah.
Opera GX is the best prime example of what a perfect browser looks like.
Okay.
Stop using all these crummy garbage web browsers that slow down your computer.
I know
Opera
that.
GX allows you to customize how much
dad.
RAM and CPU usage you can use while browsing. Another feature and my personal favorite is the social media sidebar integration, and more importantly, the WhatsApp.
Alright, I met a girl in a club and again unfortunate nightmare.
I was 20 at the time when this happened.
Okay.
I still remember this as a vivid memory in my brain that would never get erased. One day, I was at a club with a few
Oh yeah,
friends.
by the way, we have our friend slash cousin slash
coworker.
Saw a cute
and,
girl,
yeah,
which was totally my type at first glance.
Yeah.
She had blonde hair and deep brown eyes. Her nose was tiny and cute. Her lips were red like a rose. I approached her and I asked if she wanted a drink or something. She said yeah, and we drank a lot. She told me to come by her place. I hesitated at first, but soon I agreed. I told my friends that I was leaving early, and we booked a cab. We got in the cab, and 15 minutes later, we arrived at her house. Her apartment had a 2-floor. Nothing special, but just normal. We stepped inside, and all of a sudden, I smelled something rotten. I got a bit nauseous and asked her if I could use the bathroom. She smiled and said yes. I rushed in, and as I did, the smell got stronger. That's where the smell was coming from. At first, I didn't pay attention and puked into the sink. I thought that I had drunk a bit too much, but it was not. Just then, I heard a splash of water right beside the bathtub. I turned and opened the shower curtain, and then what I saw made my heart drop. A dead body of a boy around my age, mutilated, was lying in the bathtub obliquely. As I got closer, I realized that his right leg was cut off too.
Oh my God.
I was freaked out. I wanted to scream, but it didn't come out. But I decided not to go outside because she might be a psychopath killer and could kill me too. I tried to find an escape. Then I spotted something that I wasn't expecting. A small pocket knife stuck out from his jean pocket. I cautiously took the knife and flicked the door open. There was no one outside, and only that girl was sitting on the steps. I asked her what was in the bathtub, and suddenly, her expression got different. She flashed a maniac grin, and then she took out something from her back. A knife.
What?
All of a sudden, she lunged toward me, but I dodged it. I took out my knife and swung around as soon as she came to me and kicked her. She let out a scream as she fell to the ground. I heard some noise upstairs, but I wasn't going to check that out. I sprinted out the door and ran 2 blocks straight without stopping, and then called the cops. The cops searched the whole house and arrested 3 people, all charged for murdering innocent young boys. Then I took a cab back to my house. I called and told my parents about this incident. I wasn't able to sleep that night at all. This was the scariest I've ever experienced. And who knew what would have happened if I didn't find that knife?
Holy crap. That was like...
My mom used to work as
Okay, we're not going to be watching 5 stories. We might be watching like 30
out with one of her coworkers. Let's call him Larry, for the sake of the story. He seemed like a nice guy at first. Finally, they got married and had a daughter, and we will call her Ruby. But once they got married, things started to change immediately. He was not a nice guy after all. If something didn't go his way, he always ran to his mom's house. Because in her mind, he was still her baby, even though he was a 50-year-old man.
50?
He was such a mama's boy. Mom and Larry would break up and make up a lot. so that was just normal behavior. But when he got drunk, sometimes we didn't let him inside the house as he can become a violent person. He'd break in by smashing a window to get in on occasion. Well, he would not hurt us, but broke things like a TV or a family member's computer, which made us terrified. The final straw was when he came into our house one day. He kidnapped Ruby and ran away for 2 days until the police arrested him and brought Ruby back home, even though Larry was her dad. Mom was literally traumatized by this incident. We decided to move out of our house, and it was a great idea to move away from him at a safe distance.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was AFK.
We had none of his belongings, so he
ABC
had no
Cooper.
reason to come crawling back to us.
Oh my gosh, with the ads, bro, with the ads.
Here's one thing
Yeah,
you
bro.
need to do before buying
You better
anything
keep on.
online. Don't spend another dime on Amazon until you watch
Keep
this
on,
first.
listen.
I
Watch
really
this.
don't care.
So we moved out, and as time went by, we settled into the new house. We all started school, and I always woke up extra early to shower and play video games before I went to school. But this one day, when I woke up at 4 a.m. and finished taking a shower, I came out of the bathroom and looked out of the window unintentionally. It was still dark, and there was a man who was walking up and down the path by the side of our house. Suddenly, he looked up and stared at me. He realized that I saw him. I stood there and did nothing. Then he walked away and stood under the streetlight. It was Larry. He had the most malevolent smile I've ever seen. He came over to the mailbox saying that he was sorry. He said that he wanted to talk to my mom so they could start over again. I ran to Mom and woke her up, but we decided to call the police instead of letting him inside. About 10 minutes later, the police came to arrest him. They found out that he drove a car while drunk and left it halfway up the road. And when they searched him, he had a surgical scalpel in his pocket. He told the police that it was just a joke, but no one believed him.
That was like 2 minutes, bruh. These videos are not long.
When I was a kid, I was really into paranormal things such as ghosts and spirits, so I always got really excited for Halloween. On one Halloween, my parents took me and my brother to a ghost tour in the city. During the tour, we would visit real haunted houses, which were said to have some really violent ghosts. I couldn't be more excited. We arrived at the location for the tour meetup, an empty parking lot, but we were a bit early and nobody else had arrived yet. It was a chilly October night, so my parents decided that we should find a building to wait in until more people arrive. We walked over to the building that the parking lot was meant for, an old hotel, and entered the vestibule. We tried to fully enter the building, but we found that the doors leading to the lobby inside were locked. After a few minutes of standing around, I started to feel strange. A nauseous feeling had swept my stomach. Goosebumps ran up and down my arms, and a piercing feeling of being watched was stabbing, almost burning my back. Looking around, it was obvious that me and my family were the only ones inside the vestibule. The lobby of the building was also devoid of people. Once we saw people enter the parking lot, we left, and I felt better. And after that, I was shocked to see the first place we stopped on the tour was the building my family had been waiting in. Now, this building we won't enter, because the spirit inside here is more violent than the others will encounter. The guide stated, "In here, we have the Shadow Man. He doesn't terrorize the whole building, just the area that you enter through. He's been known to slap and scratch people coming inside." A few pictures were passed around. All of a sudden, I don't know how and why, but I recognized that an inky black figure stood against the door's windows. Its eyes were glowing white, and it had long fingers and pointed nails. It was freaky to think that I might have been targeted by the Shadow Man, but I didn't think much of it until after the tour when my family went back home. I started to complain to my mom that my back was itching and burning, so she grabbed some ointment and told me she would look at it. We thought it was just a bug bite. We had been walking around outside at night after all. When she lifted my shirt, she asked when I had scratched my back. I told her I hadn't. She took a picture on her phone and showed it to me. I was met with a long red scratch leading from my shoulder to the middle of my back.
Holy crap.
The skin on my back was a shade of red, like a rash. Me and all of my family couldn't say anything, but just turned back straight to our house. The Shadow Man had got me.
Do you want to grow your YouTube channel? Do you want to
Yes.
earn more views, more
Yes.
subscribers, more
Yes.
watch time, and of course, make more money? Well, it might be time for
TubeBuddy.
you to upgrade to TubeBuddy Pro. Sadly, while a lot of people start YouTube channels, many never reach the success that they dream of. Why? Well, there's so much you want to do on your YouTube channel, but it's very easy to get bogged down in details and not focus on the important parts. Making great videos
I'm gonna do that, but after this horror story. Cheese. Oh yeah, that is cheese.
This is not about
Hey.
my story, but someone from my church, and he wanted to.
Hey, wait.
This
wait,
is
wait,
not
wait,
about-
wait. Get out. I went in the wrong ride and almost got killed. Okay.
This is not about my story, but someone from my church, and he wanted to share his experience with anyone else. He's a 32-year-old man, and his pseudo name is Mark. He's a fairly big guy, and this situation took place when he was on his way home from work. He said that he had lost his phone 1 week before this whole situation happened, so he couldn't call and get any help during the story. It was quite late, around 11 p.m. He had finished work and was walking to a taxi stop location, and when he got there, a few people were standing around waiting as well. After about 2 minutes, he noticed that there was a minivan approaching. Usually, minivans are cheaper than taxis, and he felt tired that day, so he decided to take the minivan. He sat on a seat, and there was a young boy seated in the passenger side next to the driver who was collecting the fare. And then, 2 other boys who looked like teenagers also boarded the minivan and sat in the seats in front of him. Once the minivan took off, after about 5 minutes, the boy asked if they would like to drink some Coke. The boys accepted and started drinking. And they also gave it to Mark. Mark was also feeling thirsty, so he took it, but only a sip. Not much later, he started feeling drowsy. Just before he about laid his head on the seat beside him, he noticed that those 2 boys were already knocked out. After he laid his head down, he heard noises coming from the back seats. 2 people were talking in a different language. The car was passing a big signboard that showed Crest Chicken Farm. And then he finally passed out. When he got up, he found himself inside a big shed-like barn, and there were some tools on a big table. He was on the floor, and the other 2 teenage boys were laying next to him. He still felt a bit drowsy, but he managed to get himself up as he was looking for an escape. He saw that the 2 boys were still passed out, so he tried waking them, but they wouldn't budge. As Mark was kind of a big man, he tried to see if he could carry one of them, but it was hard to do because even Mark was having a hard time to stand properly. And then he heard voices. He took a peek from the door, and 3 people were walking toward the big shed, coming from a house on the hill, which was quite close to the shed. Mark panicked and tried to look for another exit. He was looking around the place, and he found one at the end of the shed, luckily. He approached quietly and escaped as fast as he could. At this point, his vision was all blurry, but he managed to find a fence door and unlocked it. He heard the people shouting, but he ignored. He just kept on running. When he finally reached his house, It was early morning, around 5 a.m. His wife was up all night waiting for him and ran out the front door as soon as she saw him. He collapsed and slept for almost the whole day. When he woke up and finally got a chance to explain to his wife what had transpired that night, he remembered about the other two boys who were still there. Then he contacted the police immediately. He told the police about the road signs and a big billboard for Crest Chicken Farm and other things that he could remember. About 2 weeks after, there was a police report about how they found two teenage boys' bodies in a lake and advised that when they examined the bodies, all their organs were missing. Mark just stood in fear. And as the event was too traumatic for him, Mark had to quit a job for a while.
Holy crap.
This happened when it was our school's camping day.
Guys,
All the
that
great
was like the special. Like that video was like the specialist. That video was like the finale special.
Yes.
Like that video was the best video.
It was absolutely the best.
That video was absolutely perfect.
Perfect.
Perfecto. Like that video is absolutely genius.
Yes, genius.
grades went to each other's places, and our
Oh, by the way, oh my gosh. Okay, so yeah. Okay. They actually closed the curtains. Those people in the house actually closed the curtains that time. Those people are not stupid. They actually closed the curtains. Like they literally closed the curtains. Like that is perfect. They're not getting killed. They closed the curtains. They closed the curtains. That was genius. That was absolutely genius. They closed the curtains. It's a genius.
teacher had taken the 6 students to this large site that was quite cheap. It started off all right. I got a room with some of my friends at the time, and my closer friends were in
It
the
was
next
pretty much
room.
perfect. 'Cause he didn't
The
close
first
curtains.
incident started when I was the only one in my room, still packing mine and the other people's stuff away. I was on the bottom bunk, letting my mate take the top. When I looked up was some sentence, and it said, "Hello, you are going next," with a creepy smile. On the second day, we all went outside. There were teepee tents next to a field. I hung out in one with one of my friends. Some others hung out in a second tent, but in the third tent, I saw a shadow with a knife. I told the teacher and another student who went in, but didn't come out. But nobody believed me, and there was nobody inside the tent. I thought something was really weird. On the third day, 3 of my roommates were out on a day trip with some others, which I was going to do the next day. I had done a mud course, and after that, I decided to have a shower. The water was black and disgusting, which added to this horrible weep. All of a sudden, when I was still in the shower booth, the doorknob was shaking. I screamed, and when I got out, I saw a handwriting, "You won't leave alive," on the wall. Then I saw a shadow in the window.
Oh my god.
Enlisted
This
is
is
the
the
free brand
second
new
ad in
online
like
World War
2
II
minutes.
shooter. Command a squad of soldiers and participate in legendary battles of the Second World War. Right now.
Then I
Bruh,
saw a shadow in the
Those
window.
ads are Christy. Not Christy.
My room's door was
those
locked
ads are
while I
so
was
bad.
having a shower, so
don't-
no
I don't
one
know
could
why I said
enter in our
Christy.
room.
I really don't know why
The
I said
4th
Christy.
day, I was taking a walk someplace that no one knew. And then I found a huge knife and blood-soaked clothes. I just hoped that this stupid and terrible camp would finish soon. Then the last night, I woke up in the middle of the night because I saw the same shadow leaving my room. And there was a knife on the floor, again. I couldn't sleep the rest of that night. The last day, I was left to clean the room and set the beds for the students, whoever would use it next. When I was about to finish, I saw the door and it said, "You are lucky you survived. I didn't have enough time, but next, I will not let you go." I panicked, so I ran from that creepy room. I told my teacher. However, by the time we got back, it was gone. As I got onto the bus, I looked in the window of that room, and the shadow stared back at me, with a decapitated head in one hand, and in the other hand, the same knife I had seen twice. Later, when I came back from the camp, I heard about that place. It was an orphanage and a mental institution that had many mysterious deaths. To this day, I wondered what would have happened if I'd spent longer than 5 days at that place.
Oh my god. Now, that was the cherry on top.
This happened
This
pretty
music-
recent, about 3 weeks
This
ago.
music is perfect.
Myself and
Hey.
3 friends were hanging out at a shopping center one evening. We were messing around posting clips on TikTok. Then one of my friends started laughing, and I asked her what she was laughing at. She told me that guy behind us kept staring at me. When I turned around, it was some older guy just watching me. He had black sunglasses, a cap, an old Adidas tracksuit with scuffed up shoes, and had a disgusting looking beard. My friends thought it was hilarious, but I found it really weird. Then another one of my friends said she thinks that guy lives on her street, about a few houses down from her. She said that he actually follows her on TikTok. At that point, I quickly got my phone out to check if he was following me, and he was. I had to block him because he seemed a bit creepy. We went to get McDonald's before we went home, and I received a message on TikTok from someone. It was that guy who had been following us. His name was Greg, and he wrote, "Why did you block me?" with 2 emojis. One was a crying face, and the other one was an angry face. He had actually created another account that day in the shopping center. I blocked that account as well, hoping that would be the end of it. I didn't mention it to my friends this time, knowing they would just laugh. That night, I was up late and had Netflix on in the background as I was chatting with my friends on Facebook while scrolling through TikTok. I got up to use the bathroom, and when I returned, I had 3 messages from my friends, all saying the same thing. All were things like, "Who's in your room?" and "What's up with your last post?" I asked them what they were talking about, and they told me to check my TikTok, so I did. It was a clip of my bedroom. It was a clip of someone picking up my phone and recording the inside of my room. At that point, I heard a creaking. Then I heard a man's voice say, "Sorry, please don't scream," and turned to see my closet door slightly open. I started to scream when the same guy who had been following us burst out of my closet and tried to cover my mouth. Thank God I screamed and it was enough for my parents to hear. They came upstairs and my dad tackled the guy to the floor. The police were called.
Fine.
and he
That
was
boy just got
arrested.
knocked out.
We were informed that the guy had straight up admitted to stalking and breaking and entering. One of my friends pointed out, if I go back and look at the post on TikTok from when we were in the shopping center, you can see Greg is in almost all of those pictures, somewhere in the background. I haven't heard what's going to happen to Greg yet, but
God, oh.
I just hope he won't ever come near us again.
Oof. Someone tried to kidnap me when I was... I don't know what that is. Alright, guys. Well, we're gonna end it right here. Yeah, we're just gonna end it right here. Make sure to like, subscribe, and perfecto. Be perfecto. Be everything. Now, I don't know how to say bye in Spanish, but I would say it next video if I knew it. Alright, so bye.